This video will explain where the MPPOA board is in the process of changing our work schedule in terms of the proposal. Goal of the video: define the process, identify where we are in that process, define and explain the current proposal in terms of day off rotation and work hours, identify the current issues, identify the next step. The process began when we proposed to the MPPOA membership that they authorize the board to pursue a change in our work schedule. You voted yes in May. We then submitted a written proposal to the chief and are in follow-up meetings with members of the management team. In the event the proposal does pass through the management team with both an agreement from the management team and the union members to proceed, we will then attempt to negotiate a new contract with the city Human Resources Department. We are in step 2. We are meeting with management team. The issues covered are day off rotation, hours of work, service coverage, sick ups, etc. No monetary issues are being discussed at this time. Briefing time, pay raises, holiday pay, etc. are all part of negotiating with the city human resources negotiators. Our job as the board is to do the work, meet with management team, identify significant issues that come up, provide you with that information. Your job is to assimilate that information, decide what is in your best interest, and to vote. If you vote no at any point in the process ends completely and we stay with our 6-3 8-hour shifts. If you vote yes, the process continues. Does not mean that we start working 10-hour days. It just means that the process continues. As previously mentioned, we have to get through the meetings with management team and then through the negotiations with the city. The MPPOA proposal is a 49-day rotating schedule. You can see on the left I've built a grid of 7 weeks, 49 days. The UW officers that we have on the department pointed out to us that if we manipulate the way we build the schedule, it will maximize the weekends off for officers. We are going to start on the second Monday, the blue X, and will show you how we build the schedule. Starting with the 4-4 rotations, 4 days of work, 4 days off, 4 days of work, 4 days off, 5 days of work, 3 days off, 5 days of work, 3 days off, 5 days of work, 3 days off. The 49th day is actually the first day of the 5-4 rotation. 5 days of work, 4 days off. You can see that the 4-day blocks of days off all wrap around the weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The 3-day blocks of days off are all in the middle of the week. You can see I've changed the color pattern. All I'm going to do now is copy and paste so that you can see the pattern over a longer time period. You can see there's a definite pattern to the work. You have your weekends off, you have 4 weekends in a row that you work, and then you pick up your weekends off again. So you can see that through the calendar year, there would not be the seasonality that we had in the other proposal. We had another proposal where you'd basically be off or working like all summer, all fall, all spring. That is not the case with this rotation. Every one of the weeks that you see on the left-hand side is one of the rotations. So on the first day of shift change, the officers on rotation 1 would be working and then off for 3. The officers on rotation 2 would start with a day off and then work and then off. Rotation 3, off, work, off. You can see how that works through the calendar. If you look at the rotation, you can see that you never work more than 4 days in any calendar week. You do have 5 days in a row where you work, but there's not more than 4 calendar days that you work within a work week. In terms of shift pick, there will be very little difference between the rotations except if somebody has like a planned event, they know they need this weekend in August off for a family reunion or vacation, etc. There will be very little difference in terms of the rotations, and the holidays should be fairly evenly dispersed, more even than our current 6-3 system for the holidays worked. Just going to go over this point again so people are clear on it. Each one of the days is a rotation, so that on the first day of shift change, every rotation on the department starts their calendar year. You just see that you're starting it on a different week in the rotation. Current issues. The initial proposal created a staffing gap in which afternoon shift was working alone for 2 hours. So their staffing numbers went from approximately 38 down to 25. We have a solution for that, which I will explain to you momentarily. Issue number 2 is the change in the new work schedule would have a negative impact on vacation picks on both day shift and afternoon shift. Issue number 1. The initial proposal had the power shift starting at 6:40 p.m. The last day shift officer was done at 4:20 p.m. That created a 2 hour and 20-minute gap where second shift officers, during one of the busier parts of the day were quite a bit below what we currently are working. The blue is what we are currently working. The orange is the proposed staffing. The solution is to take the power shift and shift it forward in the day. So you see now that the early power shift officer starts at 4:40 p.m. The day shift officer ends at 4:20 p.m. That's a reason for this kind of spike down for the 20-minute period when second shift is understaffed or afternoon shift is understaffed. Then the staffing goes up to 32 and then up to 39. So in terms of what we are currently doing, which you can see is the blue line, we are still below what we are doing under our current staffing, but the difference is not as significant as it was prior to this proposed solution. That solution, though, does come at a cost. You can see over here that the early power shift officers then are done at 2 a.m., not 4 a.m. So that means that those officers are not on the street from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. So the staffing for nights goes from 32, 25, 25, and then down to the regular night shift staffing of 18. So in terms of this proposal and our solution, we have a lot of officers working on the street now during this time period over our current staffing. That is a 13 officer gain for that time period. So that is a benefit 2 days and to afternoon shift. There is a negative aspect over here for afternoon shift in that they are understaffed from our current staffing level, and there is a negative impact on night shift. So that is the solution. That's the best we're going to be able to do in terms of fixing that problem. You choose whether that is acceptable to you or not. Day off comparison. Our current 6-3 is 120 days off a year. The proposal is 156. That's a gain of 36. Weekends off. Currently we get a weekend off every 6 weeks. That is approximately 12 per year. That goes to 23, a gain of 11 for weekends off in the calendar year for the proposal. 40 weekends, clearly there'd be no 4-day weekends on a 6-3 rotation. You gain 11 4-day weekends. Negative vacation impact of the change. In this, you can see over here that we're missing second shift. I pulled second shift out because it's not relevant to this comparison. Second shift was removed from our current staffing in the proposal, and those officers were added to both day shift and afternoon shift. The key issue here is that day shift and afternoon shift, if we were fully staffed at 196 officers, that'd be 54 officers on each of those shifts. Since we work a 6-3 rotation, there are 3 rotations, 2/3 of the officers working would be 36. The proposal has 33.87 officers working per day. What that means is that the majority of the days there are 34 officers working, but there are days through the year where we only start with 33 officers. So you would have either 2, occasionally 3 officers that would be denied vacation picks that could potentially get those vacations picks filled under the 6-3 rotation if it was fully staffed. Our model down here is built on 196 officers. So if you're a proponent of the change, a proponent of 10s, and you say, well, that's not accurate here because we don't have that many officers, it would still be a negative. So if we're at 185 officers, which we're currently at, and we're working under the proposed schedule, these numbers would be lower. So it is definitely a negative impact of the change. It is your job to balance out what you see as either a positive or negative of the proposal and to vote upon that. Next step, you will be getting the SurveyMonkey vote within the next week. Do you want the union board to keep working on the MPPOA proposal to change our work schedule? No, I want to stay with the current 6-3 rotation of 8-hour days. Yes, keep working on the proposal to change our work schedule. We had talked at the board level about splitting out by seniority, splitting out where people are working. Because this is a vote, we are not going to do that. This is simply a vote. We either push forward or we do not.